This is Wake Up and Lead, a daily podcast where ambitious young professionals learn to lead themselves. I'm your host, Hampton Dortch. Today, we're talking about faith and specifically a model for prayer. And quick sidebar for everyone, I never want anyone to think that I'm doing this podcast because I think I have it all together. I think I live the perfect life or I'm leading myself better than anyone else. I've been wildly blessed with an embarrassment of riches when it comes to mentors and people who have just led me in my life. And I have so many models that I'm watching and learning from. And so that's how I've learned some of this stuff. But then also a big part of why I'm doing this daily podcast, and especially the faith portion, is for my own personal accountability, because the best way to learn is to teach. And a lot of this stuff I know intellectually, but I may not be living out, or maybe I've lived it out at one point in my life. And now I'm like, oh man, I really need to recenter and refocus. And this would actually be one of those things that, as I'm saying it out loud, I am saying this to myself. And so I just want you all to know that this podcast, as much as it is for you, I want it to be helpful. And I don't want you to waste your time. It's for me too, because intellectually, I might know this stuff, but if I'm not living it out, it's all for nothing. And a model for prayer, and this is awesome. It's helped me a lot, and I'm really trying to get back into the habit of doing it. It's an acronym, ACTS, A-C-T-S, ACTS, A-C-T-S. So A stands for adoration, C is confession, T is thanksgiving, and S is supplication. So supplication, I may get this definition slightly wrong, but from what I understand, that is probably where we are praying most. It's like, help me on this test, help me get a date, help me get the job. It's just like asking God for things, which absolutely He wants us to do. But at the same time, I think we often start with that. And so my recommendation, and this has really changed my prayer life, would be to start with adoration, which is A. And the reason that's been helpful for me is because it reminds me how big God is and how small I am. And it really helps me reshape and refocus my mindset and my perspective. So often, again, we jump to that supplication piece instead of adoring Him for who He is and what He's given us and the blessings He's given us. And then, so adoration first, that's God, you are so big. You put breath in my lungs this morning. You created me and you love me. Wow. Acknowledging that. And then confession is saying, God, I have forgotten what I just said. I have turned from you. I have chosen this over that. I am so sorry. Will you please forgive me? Will you help me turn away from this? Will you change the desires of my heart? And Thanksgiving is just practicing gratitude and thanking Him for the blessings that He's giving you, and just saying, God, thank you for my family. Thank you for my friends. Thank you for the breath in my lungs this morning. Thank you seriously for everything. And so let's recap before we even get to supplication. Adoration, we're adoring God for being the King of the universe, yet having a personal relationship with you. We're adoring Him for loving you so much that He sent His only Son to come and live the life that you couldn't and die the death that you deserve. We are adoring Him for waking up another morning. So that will shift your perspective. Then confession, it's saying, God, I have turned away from you and I want to turn back. I love you. Will you forgive me? Will you change the desires of my heart? Will you help me pursue you instead of myself and worldly things? And then thanksgiving is, wow, thank you so much that I have the life that I did. Thank you so much for opening my eyes to see the truth. Thank you so much for allowing me to love you and be loved by you. Thank you for my friends, for my family, for my job. And then after that, you get to supplication. And then all of a sudden, the thing that you wanted to pray about doesn't feel as big. That's the whole point. So the test, the date, the job, please pray for that. God wants you to pray for that. But I think having those first three things, the A, C, and T, that perspective will really change the way that you go into the supplication portion. You still may pray for the same thing, but again, you've already acknowledged how big God is, and you remember that you are literally talking to the King of the universe in that moment. And so that's been very powerful for me. Again, so often we jump to that supplication piece, and I think a lot of times we're missing the point of that prayer. So I hope that was helpful for you. Acts, adoration, confession, thanksgiving, supplication. It's time for you and me to wake up and lead.